And we had 7 viewers at one point.
Oh, we did, but now it's just us.
Now it's down to 5.
Yeah.
Wow, we come in through a blaze of fire. That's pretty badass.
You didn't know about that?
No, I didn't.
That's how it is.
Oh, look at that! It's all pretty and stuff like that.
It's all pretty.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna talk about the Haunting of Bly.
Yes, the Haunting of Bly.
Yeah, so
So
how do we even start the conversation? Do we go right off the bat on what we thought? Do we want a little bit of info about the filming?
Yeah, let's let you lead it off. Let's talk about what it is and where it can be seen and all that kind of stuff.
All right. So, The Haunting of Bly Manor is a Netflix television series. It's 9 episodes long, which is incredibly digestible. Not like a lot of people are doing stuff nowadays. Believe it or not, this is the 35th adaptation of a book by a author named Henry James, and the book is called Turn the Screw.
Yes, I did a little research on that.
Adaptation, yeah.
35th?
Yeah, the 35th. In fact, apparently, there was a movie release based on Turn of the Screw that came out right before the Netflix series.
Seriously? What was the name of it?
It must have just been called Turn the Screw.
Oh. Yeah, Turn of the Screw movie. In fact, you know what? I think I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
briefly.
so... Yeah, honestly, because apparently this guy, Henry James, the person that the story is based off of, he's apparently quite a popular horror writer, and I have never heard of him until I started doing research about this.
Let's see. Henry James, 1843 to 1916, so... Alright.
So that's kind of like Bram Stoker timeline, okay.
Yeah, sure. Just looking him up on IMDb. Apparently everybody has an IMDb, including dead authors.
Technically, we should have an IMDb.
I mean, we could if we, get to that point. So he's credited, looks like, for every adaptation, and oh my god. Okay, so not even. Oh wow, he's had an adaptation of one or more of his stories like every year for the past every year.
Wow.
Well, seriously, I'm going through IMDb right now, and
that's pretty impressive. Like, is there an author who gets all that stuff pushed as much as that?
I don't know.
Like Stephen King, he has a lot of adaptations, but literally 35 adaptations off of one book. That might be a record.
Yeah. So, just looking at a couple of titles here. So, Haunting of Bly Manor, I'm going like current to back. So we've got Haunting of Bly Manor, Turn of the Screw, and then another 2 Turn of the Screws, which is just like, I guess, short stories. One called The Turning. Guess what that's about?
Is it about turning a screw?
Maybe. One called Owen Wingrave. One called Spellbound. I can't pronounce that. Something radio. The Beast in the Jungle. The Aspirin Chambers. But that's all.
So I guess if you need something to read around for the season of Halloween, maybe look into James Henry.
Yeah.
Or is it
and
Henry
it
James?
looks like
No,
at least every few years.
Yeah, Henry James. Sorry.
At least every few years, there's the Turn of the Screw. In fact, there was another series back in 2013. Only had, it says series, but TV movie. That's why. Turn of the Screw. Turn of the Screw. Turn of the Screw. Wow. You know what? We gotta have like a viewing party of all these Turn of the Screws.
Oh God, I don't know if I can.
And we can
maybe
rate best
how
to
about
worst.
this? Every time somebody follows or subscribes, we have to watch one version of Turn of the Screw.
I'll sign up for that. We have to do it live on stream though.
Oh jeez, I don't know if there's some weird copyright thing involving that.
It'd be like that time Shia LaBeouf had like a 24-hour viewing of all of his movies, and he just sat in a theater with all the like other people watching it. He's just sitting there smiling, watching it. You know that meme that's out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the series is directed by Mike Flanagan, who did the Haunting of Hill House. No surprise to anyone. I'm not super familiar with anything else he's done in his resume. However, he did do Doctor Sleep, I believe, which is the sequel to The Shining, which I don't think a lot of people know.
Oh, that's why you said you wanted to watch Doctor Sleep.
Yeah. So, I don't think a lot of people might know that there is a sequel to The Shining as Doctor Sleep, and it follows Daniel Torrance after the series. I believe, he's grown up and he still has, obviously, The Shining, right?
Yep.
So, that's actually something that should actually go on my reading list.
It should.
For sure. And I've heard the movie is actually phenomenal,
The movie
too.
is really phenomenal. And there's one scene in it where they do a little recreation of kind of like the first movie. And they do a great job on it. No spoilers on that, because I know you haven't seen it.
Yeah, and, The Shining, also probably one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Fun fact also about The Shining, it's the first movie, I believe, that used the dolly cam. So, the scene where he's running around on the tricycle, camera follows him around. So that was like a whole new, element to literally cinema. So it probably freaked people the F out, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But anyway, back to Bly. Which we keep bouncing around the subject.
Well, we were more on topic that time. So a lot of the cast carried over from Hill House. You got Victoria Pedretti playing Danny Clayton, who is the American, right? Or no, that's no, it's Amelia Eve.
Pull this up, don't I?
That plays the American.
The American. Yeah, Victoria Pedretti is Danny Clayton, the American.
Mm-hmm. And then, in my opinion,
I want to call her the nanny, but they say in there's no, it's not. She's not a nanny. She's a, what is she?
Au pair.
Au pair, yeah.
I only know that because technically, my babysitter, she was an au pair for a profession. Mm-hmm. So, but honestly, in my opinion, the MVP of both Hill House and Bly Manor was Oliver Jackson Cohen.
Yes.
He is such a good, versatile actor. If I needed to cast either a villain or a very troubled character, he's definitely up my list for someone who I would recruit.
2 of 2, at least as far as what I've seen him in. I don't know what else he's in. Let me look that up right now. I've got IMDb tabs open.
I don't think he's been in a heck of a lot I'm familiar with.
Not with any notable roles.
But for sure, he... I guess he played Jonathan Harker in one of the Dracula series. Again, I haven't seen it. But for sure, I think he takes MVP in this.
What he's...
And as actor.
Yeah. So what he's known for right now, mostly some roles in 2010, 2011. He was in The Invisible Man in 2020. But other than that, the other roles he had was like in one movie called Faster. He was just killer.
Right. And actually, as far as actors too, one thing I have to shout out to the actor and actress, and also the director too, is Emil Bay Smith and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. They are the 2 children of Bly Manor.
Those kids
and
are good. The little girl,
yeah,
especially.
I have to say, working with children, they always say 2 things when I went to film school: is don't work with children, don't work with animals.
There's something I wanted to mention to you. The girl that plays Flora, she's what was she? She is, in the most recent year, she is the voice of Peppa Pig.
Very strange fact, but I guess that's why.
Peppa, what are you doing in Bly, Peppa?
Right.
I've always been here.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the performance for them, simply splendid. That should be something that should be used all the time describing this. But Yeah, I mean it's hard to direct kids that young, and also a lot of the time, a cinema sin is having the creepy kids right in a horror movie. Like that's such a trope.
Yeah. Oh, looks like I
But
lost my camera.
they pull it off. They make kind of their intentions obvious early. What are you doing?
I lost my camera.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
No, it's just funny because I can see your settings.
Yep.
But yeah, a shout out to them. Everyone actually did a fantastic job, I think, as far as acting. But I wanted to particularly do a shout out to those three in particular. I thought they were kind of the standouts.
Yes, phenomenal.
Either having a difficult job or just being the MVP. So, yeah, that's my thought on the actors. Is there anything else you want to mention?
About the actors in particular on that subject, I don't think so. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that. Those are the ones that I would call out. Obviously everybody in that was really good. I don't think there was any weak roles, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if anything, it was more weak writing. I might have an opinion on. I think everybody played their parts really well, for sure. And again, I think Mike Flanagan is possibly a director that not everyone might have on their radar, but they should have on their radar soon. Just like Robert Eggers is really, really good too. Like, if he can find himself in a scenario where he can just put up this consistency, I think for sure we'll whenever Mike Flanagan puts out something, we're going to be like, oh, I need to watch this.
I do also really like the kind of aesthetic you get from it. I don't know, would you call that the cinematography? Just how everything has this glow to it in it. Any of the outdoor sequences and things like that.
Yeah, he takes advantage of, I think, wide open spaces, and of course, one of the Easter eggs you get from both this and Hill House is what I think people are just calling secret ghosts.
Yeah.
Like they're like in a lot of scenes, they didn't do as much of this in Bly Manor as they did in Hill House, but there will be total scenes, and then literally if you just look to the right, there's a ghost right there just chilling.
Yep. In fact, I'm starting to rewatch Hill House for that reason, because apparently there's way more than I had known about.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've joked, I was like, let's rewatch Hill House and drink every time we see a secret ghost, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there weren't quite as many, but I think that also makes sense in the story, right? Bly Manor isn't as messed up as Hill House.
No, but it tells I don't want to say it tells a deeper story. It tells a different story.
It tells a different story for sure. I don't think it personally tells a deeper story, just because I think with Hill House there was kind of a lot more in stake. This was more kind of just a curse that focused on, I don't know, a handful of people. So I guess we'll talk about, I guess, our overall thoughts. So I don't know if you want to start with that or you want me to go ahead.
I don't know. Do I be the opening act or the closer? I'll be the opener.
Go for it.
You have more experience in this kind of stuff. You went to school for film and stuff, right?
Yeah, but not well. But go ahead.
More than me. So overall, I enjoyed it. I did think Hill House was better in the sense that it really screwed with you more. It was scarier. It had more ghosts kind of thing on it. But I enjoyed the story of Bly, and spoiler alert. At the end with the bride, how she said, your story wasn't so much a ghost story as it was a love story, and it really clicked when she said that. Because I looked at it the whole time as a ghost story, and then she said, no, it's a love story, and I was like, yeah, it was.
Yeah, For sure, and it's funny because we were talking to our friend Carly, who we played D&D with Friday nights at 8 o'clock on this channel. But I'm almost envious of her because I'd be curious what my opinion of Bly Manor would be had I not seen Hill House first, right?
Yeah, it did set a bar and an expectation. And if you go into Bly with the expectation that it's going to be Hill House Part 2, you're going to be disappointed.
Right. And here's the thing, too, is also with that line, and I think that's probably the most important line in the entire series, right? Is, it's not a ghost story, it's a love story. I wonder how much I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
my opinion on watching the story, like if they threw out that line in the first or second episode.
That it's a love story?
Yeah, it's not a ghost story, it's a love story.
No, I like that they saved it to the end, honestly.
Right.
You
because
really needed the whole story before you drop that and you kind of like reconsider the whole thing. And I like that about it.
Well, I mean, whose love story was it, right?
It wasn't just one love story, it was a series of stories of individuals.
Right. So you could have seen all this stuff, and whose love story was it, right? Was it between, the uncle and the kids? Was it between, Miss Gross and I can't remember the character's name, Owen? Or was it between Danny and Jamie?
Right.
Right?
All of those. It really was. It wasn't just one of them.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. That is also one thing I worry, or not worry. I ponder in, if they put that line earlier in the story versus later in the story, would my opinion have changed? Would I be more interested, like, oh, how does this become a love story from, this awful, like, ghost that just choke slamming people into a lake?
That's the best part. If you're in her path, she just like grabs you by the neck and drags you along her path until she goes back to the lake, and in you go. But you're always dead before you get to the lake.
No, No, I mean, honestly, she was definitely a lot nicer to Danny because, like, Danny lived like a good few minutes. Like,
but she passed out.
Fucking Peter was just like, she just grabbed him and snapped his neck, like, whatever, bye. Which
the lady
I thought was kind of funny.
blindsided both of them, though.
Yeah. She Pearl Harbored them. But, so, yeah, I mean, I think it's tough, right? Because obviously expectations are so high. You have this, okay, it's gonna be the same thing, right? But it's not. It's totally not the same thing.
Right.
And yeah, it's tough to compare the two. I definitely will lean towards Hill House. I think the vast majority of people lean towards Hill House, to be honest, just because of, I think, more of the horror aspects of it. I definitely didn't find it as scary for sure.
Which one? Bly?
Yeah, Bly.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I would agree with that, and my thought process behind that is they were probably sitting on the Hill House script for quite a while and had time to like really polish it and get it the way that they wanted it to be before they sent it out, and then that became popular and like, we got to do another one. It's like, oh well, shit, I don't have something ready. I'll put something together, and they didn't really have those years probably to fine tune it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what the production was because you never know. It was based off of another story, right? Well, it was just a matter
obviously
of
they have the framework no matter what, but then to adapt it,
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did a fantastic job on Hill House. I haven't read Turn of the Screw, so but I guess it differs a little bit. I mean, obviously it does. Have you read it?
Yeah. No.
No? Okay.
No, I mean, I didn't even really realize it was a thing, but you never know. I'm always looking for stuff to read. I'm still on Tommy right now, but...
Tommy?
Tommy. It's a Junji Ito graphic novel. I was reading a bit of it when we went camping.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't have the concentration for a book, so I'd probably, if it's available, I'd audiobook it and then just be traumatized through that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about the only thing I didn't really like about the story and the script in general.
Please.
I really thought the relationship between Miss Gross and Owen was completely unnecessary.
Why?
What did it actually add to the story? He wanted to bang a ghost? Did it add extra drama to... Spoiler, she was dead the whole time. Like, what did it add? I felt like it was just filler.
It may have been. I mean, we're talking a TV series here, not a movie, so sometimes to space out the major plot enough, you have to have a little filler.
Yeah, their acting, their relationship, it just didn't feel real. It felt very forced.
Yeah. But then which ghosts are going to take over the children? But again, that's not really necessary either, I guess.
Yeah, that was kind of the one thing that just felt like the weak link in the story, not necessarily, the performance of Tania Miller. I think that's how you say her name. I didn't feel like that particularly brought it down. I think it was just poor writing, particularly on the characters and all that.
So Kai says it's a story about personal relationships, so she thinks it's a nice addition. And that's... yeah, I guess she's not wrong. If you're looking at different types of relationships, it doesn't necessarily need to lend to the greater plot, but just be like a little side story.
Yeah, it almost felt like that they started having these characters, and they were like, oh god, we have nothing for them. Well, let's have them for each other.
Yeah, that's true too. And you don't want to railroad it. You want to have the side stories so you can have different focuses, and you're not just looking at this like A to B, very clear path, because then that becomes boring too.
Yeah.
You want to guess on the puzzle pieces. Where do these people fit in? How did they get to where they are? Even if it doesn't lend to the lady in the lake.
The lady in the lake. Love it.
That's what she is.
Yeah. So here's a trivia for you.
Oh,
I'm gonna
fail this. Yeah. Go ahead.
Where was Bly Manor filmed?
Where was it filmed?
Yeah, where's the actual manor?
Now, I know it takes place in England, but I'm not so certain it was filmed there. Well, It is? Okay.
Well, it's interesting. So
if it's actually... a trivia, it makes me think like, oh, well, it can't be the obvious. Go ahead, though.
CT, Connecticut. That's an interesting guess. You know what? I'll give the chat. I'll give you guys a minute to try and figure out. Try not to Google and spoil it.
1 minute. What are we gonna do for 1 minute?
I don't know.
I'm gonna set a timer. 1 minute.
You got beer. Try and figure out.
1 minute starting.
You get
now.
extra bonus points if you can point out how you know it's from that area. There's actually a goof.
Oh, this is not
that
focus.
Exposes it.
Does it really?
It does actually. It's interesting because on IMDb there's a thing for goofs, and this is the only goof thing.
Well, now I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. Honestly, no clue from Chimera.
Well, it's something you don't think about because it's something so minor. It's something so minor. Brett might be able to pick it out, and our friend in the Among Us group chat and Discord hammer, Jens, he might be able to point it out too.
Well, none of them are watching.
I know, but okay, I'll give you a hint. An electrician would be able to maybe point it out.
Because of the outlets?
Something like that. Yeah, it's the light switch sockets.
Oh, 1 minute is up.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's particularly the light switch sockets. It's North American, even though the manor is in Vancouver.
I had a hunch that it was probably in America somewhere, but I couldn't give you like an exact city or anything. I mean, I know they do a lot of filming in places
Right.
in like Atlanta, Vancouver, obviously, but what one would have a house like that, you know? Vancouver, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting because that's, you know, there's a lot of nerds who go onto IMDb, and the fact that that's the only goof that they've been able to post on there, that's pretty good. That's pretty good continuity. The script supervisor probably earned their paycheck for sure.
Yeah. Too bad we're not affiliated yet. I would have offered a free sub as a prize to that trivia.
Oh, well, maybe when we do this, I'll throw in a random pizza trivia.
What's a pizza trivia?
A pizza trivia.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, any other thoughts on, I guess, Bly Manor, and then we'll start talking about other spooky things.
Other spooky things. Final thoughts on Bly Manor. It's not Hill House, but it is still a piece of art. Really, really good. Really good, and I recommend watching it.
Yeah, I mean, 9 episodes, about an hour a piece. What do you have to lose? You can get it done in a day. We're all stuck in quarantine. What do you have to lose? It's not Hill House, but it's a very emotional story that made me a little silvery-eyed in the end. So that's all I have to say about that.
It did so. Me too.
I think actually one thing I do want to point out, and something that I appreciate about the writing and the consistency between the two stories, is the fact that I really like it's a new spin on ghosts, right? And I've talked about this in other
same with Hill House. Though, really, I mean, there's
no, absolutely, and that's why I'm talking about consistency of writing, because I'm including Hill House into this category, is the fact that, you know, ghosts, vampires, werewolves, you know, not really included in horror nowadays. They're bad guys in video games. You know, there's not really proper movies or books and stuff where they're scary, because right, because we know all the tropes. We all know their weaknesses, like
the jump scares.
How do you do that?
The
oh man, I remember
party.
I went to go see the Wolfman remake with Anthony Hopkins, and there's literally nothing in it. They just have jump scares because they're like, werewolves aren't fucking scary anymore, because, you know, just put a silver bullet in its brain and it dies.
Yes.
And then you just accuse everyone being stupid the entire time. But what I like about the Haunting series is that ghosts are often associated with trauma. Human trauma.
Yes.
Maybe not so much in Bly Manor, but they did with Henry Wingrave, and he was haunted by himself, right?
Yep.
And this is particularly with Luke, I think his name was, the individual that, you know, was played by Oliver Jackson Cohen. Is, you know, he was an addict, so, you know, he had to deal, and almost the haunting for him was, you know, it signified his addiction, right? Something was constantly following him. Something was constantly, you know, hovering over him.
Yeah, that's so much deeper than you think it is.
Right, and the whole haunting with Bly Manor, spoilers. I don't feel like we should say spoilers, but I'm gonna say spoilers because I feel bad.
It's in the
description, you know, they talk,
now, so.
they talk about the gravity of a person's hate, right?
Yeah.
And talk about that, and
if you really read into that line too.
No, it's interesting because it gets sucked in, right? Like, think of it like a black hole. Everything gets kind of sucked into the gravity, and I love it so much, and I like the way that it is done. That, yes, it's supernatural, and if we talk about spooky things, I'll definitely talk about the movie that got me into horror movies, which is The Ring. And you talk about just raw hatred powering you through to the afterlife.
Yeah.
And I I can't, applaud that enough as being the center point of the story, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of my final thoughts.
Well, you summed it up.
Right, so I guess we'll talk about other spooky things, right? Do we want to take a small break before it happens, or do we just want to go right into it?
I think we can, I'm fine to go right into it unless you need to take a break.
Maybe I want to grab another drink and we'll go right into it.
All right. All right, here we are again.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. So, spooky season. You there?
Yeah, it's yeah. So I guess we can talk about spooky things, and actually, I guess this is something I've never had a conversation the entire time I've actually known you.
Oh,
are you a big fan of the horror genre?
We've kind of dabbled around the topic. We've always talked about loving like the B movies.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, do you like seek out like the latest and greatest in horror movies? Do you go out of your way to play, all the horror games people are talking about? Do you read any horror novels?
So I wouldn't say I read horror novels or go out of my way to get all the horror games, or I have a subscription to Shudder. But I do enjoy it. If the opportunity ever arises for anything, I never turn it down, and I do have a particular taste for sure.
Okay, so I guess what's your favorite horror movie of all time?
See, you can't ask a former projectionist what his favorite movie is of any genre. Because everything.
Give me your three in non order, favoritism order. And also, Chad, feel free to drop in too, because there's a lot of good stuff. And if there's something you've seen that I haven't,
yes.
Please talk about it.
This is chat. If you are there,
this is where we need you, Chad.
Participate. I loved. Let me see. So I obviously love the Bly Manor and Hill House stuff. That stuff's really good, especially Hill House. It was a fresh look at the whole genre to me. But looking back, Cabin in the Woods really good.
Oh, Cabin in the Woods, yes.
That's another. That's
another
one that's a fresh look,
Give a brief description of Cabin in the Woods,
I don't think I can.
I don't consider that a horror movie. It's as weird as it sounds.
It is and it isn't. It is because it loosely follows a horror movie, even though it ends up being almost a comedy.
See, if I were to categorize that, I would say it's a dark comedy. It's a dark comedy that laughs at the horror genre.
Sure.
Shitty horror movies are my favorite, honestly. I mean, it's hard not to throw in Evil Dead 2 and Army in Darkness.
Yeah, see, I love those too, but those are comedies, dark comedies at best.
Well, the thing is, like, with Evil Dead 2, they tried being serious.
Jimbra, original Final Destination trilogy.
I have not watched Final Destination.
At the time, it was very teen horror. So it had a lot of tropes, but its concept was, it really messed with you.
Right. The concept
a lot of people. Well, hang on. To this day, a lot of people cannot look on the highway at the back of a truck holding logs and not get tweaked out by it.
Yeah, and even though I've never used the movie, I've heard the term, like, my final destination has begun. You know what I mean? Like, when you have dodged, your literal death, and you're like, oh, well, this is when they come for me, right?
Yeah, like, you can't avoid death, basically. The whole concept is somebody at the beginning of the movie has a vision of their impending death. They avoid it, and them and a bunch of people avoid it. But then, like, the plane blows up anyway, and they're like, oh, see, we would have died. But then they start dying one by one in the order that they would have died on said plane or whatever.
Right.
So they have to like run from death, quite literally.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things about the particular genre in general is there are so many good concepts, but then they swing and they miss for me. So an example, I'll give my example. My number one example I can think of off the top of my head is The Purge.
The Purge ended up being more of an not quite actiony, but like a thriller.
But I mean, the concept on paper, if you wrote to me, in America, there is crime that is crime is legal for 24 hours. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, that is horrifying, especially, put it in today's day and age. It's like, oh my god, that's even scarier than
Literally
probably when they wrote it originally, right?
Yeah.
But just I don't know, it just became kind of just jump scares, gore horror, and they could have had a really cool story with, a lot of complex things going on.
Well, that's the problem. People are jaded to the horror series now. It's hard to get scared by the original tropes that were. Like back in the 80s, like I really loved that time frame because it was a lot fresher. So people were legitimately scared by like jump scares. But now it's like you do a jump scare and it's like...
No, I mean, honestly, I don't mind, like, 2 or 3 jump scares in the movie, but, like, if your writing is just awful, that you need to rely on them, then, Yeah. So, I guess I'll go back to the topic. Top 3 horror movies, in no particular order. So, I'm gonna go with the movie that originally scared the shit out of me when I was a teenager, and I'm gonna go with The Ring. And
that was good.
That movie terrified me. I actually remember going to see it with my father, and I remember I couldn't go through with it. It was too scary, so I had to leave with him. And it was funny because I remember my dad wanted to finish it, so he went with my mom to see it. And I eventually finished it, and I loved it. And I think the reason it stays in my head is, why did this movie make me tap out, right? Why did this thing terrify me so much? And it got to the point I went out of the way, I watched Ringu. I read the manga, actually, of The Ring.
Yeah.
Or Ringu. And it stands up there. I haven't watched it recently. I'd be curious what my opinion is on it now. Did you ever watch The Ring?
Yeah, I watched it. I love that one. And didn't they remake that one? Or they remade The Grudge, I think. I don't know, one of the two. Grudge was pretty good too. It was right in there with The Ring.
Yeah, and I love Japanese and Korean horror as well. It's something I've definitely deviated into in the last.
They're better at it than us, at least lately.
I wouldn't say it. I would say there's a lot of great people trying interesting things all around the world.
Fair.
For sure.
Actually, there is one that I thought of, because you didn't let me finish all my 3. The Hellraiser series.
The girl crawling out of the screen, and yeah, I mean it's horrifying too, because also it was one of those scenarios. I don't know about you, but how the series ended. She recorded the tape and brought it to a Blockbuster. It's like, God, what are the odds? Literally, you rent this thing from Blockbuster and you saw the video and you're just like, well, I guess I'll die.
You just return it to the Blockbuster and then somebody else rents it unless the movie's not popular anymore, and then you're like, well, shit.
I know, right? You gotta put on that Pokemon the first movie.
Right. But yeah, I liked Hellraiser. Those ones.
Hellraiser, the first one is one of my... Is
that on your list?
I don't know, man. There's so much good stuff, but Hellraiser, I think, is the best horror movie from that time. I don't know, because then also I think of Hellraiser, and then I think of The Thing. Those are kind of the two ones.
Yes, we just talked about that the other day.
I mean, because we've been playing a shit ton of Among Us, that's why.
Yeah. No, I loved The Thing. And I was still pretty young at that time, but, you know, back in the 80s, you know, they didn't care what you watched.
Right. Saw. That's another one. That I have to say I haven't watched too much. I probably have watched the first two. It's actually funny. One of my classmates is Carrie L's body double, or he was for a while.
Oh, nice.
Because he looks like him from behind. No, that's like a legit job. Like if you need to like do a scene where somebody's talking and you're kind of in the foreground.
Yeah.
You know, out of focus. Like if you look like someone from behind, you can make money doing that.
I saw Saw 1, and that was really good, and I just kind of left it at that. I didn't watch all the sequels that they had. I thought that was good as a standalone, and they didn't need more. I was fine with that, because I know that once you start getting a long series, things get degraded.
Yeah, see, the gore horror is not usually my thing, so I think that's particularly maybe why I didn't watch too much Saw. I do find it interesting. Yeah, it turns into a snuff film, right?
Yeah, basically.
And yeah, but I think the one thing that Saw made interesting is all of the challenges. They all had puzzles, right? So there was maybe some replayability to people failing certain challenges, trying to solve those puzzles, right?
Yeah.
And of course, you know, being the twist of the first movie, spoiler alert, is the dead body on the ground was actually the dude, right?
Yeah. Yeah, as Jimbo says, Saw 1 and 2 was more tasteful gore.
Right.
Like gore that made sense. It wasn't just there to be there.
Yeah, and I think that's another series maybe I should give another chance to. Because I understand what they were going for.
Sure.
So, all right, I gave one movie off my list. I gave The Ring. You gotta give your one off your list.
Well, I said Cabin in the Woods, even though you said that
wasn't
necessarily.
Yep. All right, we'll count it. We'll count it. My opinion doesn't matter, particularly in that category.
You mentioned it, and it reminded me. Definitely The Thing. The first one, the one in the 1980s, not the remake.
And I have to say, practical effects beat CGI every single time, and that is the reason that movie stands the test of time. And no one can change my mind on that.
What was CITW? What's CITW? This is Brett.
Yeah. Brett, his favorite movie is actually The Thing, so...
What is CITW, though? CITW was baller, not...
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods, okay.
Cabin in the Woods was very baller. If no one has seen it, if someone's not into the horror genre, but they like the idea of B-movies... Oh, God. So I'll talk about Jurassic Park.
Is Jurassic Park horror?
No, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, and this is going to sound sacrilege to probably some people. We might get some unfollowers here. Well, Jurassic Park is actually not the Jurassic World bullshit that's going on. Jurassic Park is my #1 movie to be remade. But I want a horror director to do it. I want Peter Jackson with his horror background. I want Eli Roth, because I have read the books, or the book, and I have to say that movie is just begging for a good horror director.
It won't happen though.
To come in, because literally there is like a chapter or two just dedicated to explaining how all the dinosaurs are going to fucking murder you.
Oh man, now I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's like next to Dune, it's probably my favorite sci-fi book of all time. Like Jurassic Park is phenomenal. So would I consider Jurassic Park horror? No. Do I want it to be horror? Absolutely. Absolutely. So you said
The Thing.
The Thing. That is an excellent choice. And I'm gonna try and change choices. So if something was in my top 3, I'm going to change it. So I'm going to throw in something a bit more recent. I'm going to throw in The Babadook.
The Babadook. I haven't seen that one.
Oh my god. Do you have a seatbelt on your chair? Because strap yourself in for a fucking ride.
Let's do it.
So, The Babadook, I don't know if it's on Netflix still. It was for the longest time. It's an Australian... Yeah, The Babadook fucked with me. The last person I think I physically watched it with was my friend Emmanuel. And literally the credits rolled. We just sat in silence, and she was just like, I need a fucking cigarette. That movie fucked me. And again, it's almost very similar to Hill House with how you feel in the end. Is that, to an extent, we all have a ghost. We all have a Babadook. It basically follows a single mom and a child. The husband died driving her to the hospital while she was giving birth to the child, and the child is seeing this ghost or this monster called the Babadook. And of course, the mom's getting sleep deprived and all that, and she's starting to believe the kid. But spoiler alert to it, is really it's about them overcoming their grief, and about the husband she lost, and about the father the kid never had. And that's really the point of the story. It's oddly a very feel-good story. It's a very relatable story that the monster, the Babadook, is something we have all experienced.
Okay.
Also, I haven't seen The Lobster. Is it anything like, God, what's that movie that Kevin Smith recently where the dude makes a guy a walrus?
Oh, I don't know.
I watched that, and I was like, what the hell did I just watch? Alright, so shooting your number 3.
I need a little bit more time to think about that.
Okay. Should I throw out something?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna throw out something a lot more recent. I'm gonna throw out Midsommar.
Okay.
So, have you ever seen the Wicker Man?
Yes. Yeah.
So, it's basically kind of the spiritual remake of that movie. So, it all takes place in broad daylight. It's a very artsy-fartsy, all the movie shot in broad daylight. Very little of the horror happens at night. And it's a movie you definitely get out of watching multiple times. It's fascinating too, because the first time I watched Midsommar, I was like, I'm not sure if I like this movie. And a couple days went by, and I was like, yeah, see, guys hated Midsommar. But it's like, I thought about it a couple days. I'm like, I feel like I should have let me give it another try. I rewatched it. I loved it. I immediately bought it and added it to my physical movie collection, which, is so rare to add to nowadays. Lauren Pugh, I think that's her name, is definitely an actress I really like. And it's just phenomenal. It's such a pretty movie in broad daylight, very artsy-fartsy, not everyone's cup of tea. And Kai, you should definitely watch it again. And I'm sorry about your awkward date.
Oh. Awkward date?
Yeah, Kai watched it with someone. And I guess it wasn't exactly the most pleasant scenario.
Wasn't great. Okay.
And also, I'll plug in The Witch real quick as honorable mention, because Brett's just like, The Witch! Which is another A24 movie. I think Midsommar's A24. But it's a... And that's one of those things, again, it's a movie not everyone is going to like. And my opinion on it is, yeah, it's a period piece, right? It's a period piece with really good horror elements to it. I literally watched that movie. I went to go see it in theaters. I loved it personally. And I remember the people 2 rows in front of me were just like, that was stupid. That was a waste of my fucking money. So again, not one of those movies to everyone's taste. if you have, it's not one of those movies you watch while in the background. It's not one of those movies you put on while you're putzing around on your phone. That's like you watch that when you're ready to watch a movie.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, and that's something I'll give director Robert Eggers a credit for, is his historical accuracy is so on point, and I can't wait for his next movie, which apparently is going to be based on the Viking Age, and I am stoked.
All right.
All right, number 3.
So number 3, and I had to think about this one, and because I've seen a lot of movies in my time, but it's still 80s genre. That's kind of my go-to. I love it. Poltergeist.
Interesting. Okay, so talk to me why you like Poltergeist.
Probably because it was one of the first ones that I ever saw.
I mean, that's why The Ring's on there. So
yeah, I don't know. I was just something about like this, because I was a little kid when I watched it, and it was about this little kid, and she was being, basically haunted by the poltergeist in this movie, and she got like sucked into this other world, and it really creeped me the fuck out. The static on the TV, and there's something in there, sounds that you can't hear, but they're there, and I don't know. It really got to me.
Okay, all right. So
I haven't seen it in a
you?
long time, so I can't recall all the details. But
yeah, it's interesting because a movie I actually watched recently with Brett that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, but didn't hold up, was the movie Signs.
That scared you?
Oh, that like especially the scene at like the Mexican kid's birthday party.
Oh, where they're just like.
Yeah, and he just like walks by, and you're just like, okay, I'll just soil myself immediately.
Yeah, that didn't mess with me. What year did that come out?
Gosh, I must have been 14 when that came out. I mean, granted, I know the age gap.
I know. So
kind of far, but
so that was 2002. I would
have been 13.
I was probably 17. So to me, that was not much.
Yeah, and then just as an adult, I was like, why is this scary?
To me, that was just an M. Night Shyamalan movie where I was like, oh, where's the twist?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor. Mel Gibson, though he's a shit, also a great actor.
Yeah, he's got some good acting chops. He's a dick, but he's got acting chops.
Yeah, and it's just like, again, one of those things like ghosts, vampires, werewolves. It's like alien invasions aren't really scary anymore, right? Like, you notice,
it did make it scary. So I gotta give that credit.
UFOs and Bigfoot went away when camera quality has increased, right?
Yeah, seriously. Because now they can't fake it as well.
All right. Well, we're about at the hour mark. Do you want to keep going with this conversation, or how are you feeling?
I can go a little longer if you want to, if the
absolutely.
chat is interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'll throw another question at you. Top 2 favorite horror video games.
Horror video games. Now, this one is not scary per se, but it brought a whole new view on things for me, because it changed everything. And it's not something you would expect. So, Resident Evil 6. Here's why.
Okay.
VR.
Okay.
It puts you in it. It makes it scary. I legitimately a couple of times had to just like shoot back in the chair and just throw the headset off.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you said Resident Evil, I was expecting the number 7 before 6, because 6 is so universally hated.
Or maybe
7 is so universally praised.
I might have meant 7. Hang on, let me.
What, was it the first person one or was it the third person one?
5, 6. Nope, 7. 7. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, because I was in the room when you played 7.
6 was a shit show.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't follow Resident Evil too carefully now, but I know that much.
Yeah, 7. 7 for sure. Oh man, that game. I played it full VR the whole time.
So I guess I don't have a VR headset, so explain to me, is VR at that point where it makes you want to spoop your pants?
Yes. 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 Yes.
I mean, do you want to go on to detail?
But no, it's just very immersive. Like if you get your earbuds in, you get the headset in, it's full 360, and it's just the graphics are very immersive. It just, I don't know how to describe it. It just really puts you in this scene, you know? And it doesn't help when somebody comes up and taps you on the shoulder either, because you can't hear them coming with the earbuds.
So, I will talk about
too.
my top 2 favorites, and I will give an honorable mention.
Do one at a time. Remember, we're doing the back and forth.
Yep. So, I'm going to give Eternal Darkness to the GameCube, and simply because no other game has fucked with me more than that game. Did you ever play Eternal Darkness for the GameCube?
No, I don't think I did.
So it was actually a launch title for the GameCube, but of course, it wasn't recognized, and it doesn't get the credit it deserves. People in the chat, those who know, they know. So this was very similar in the spirit of H.P. Lovecraft. But here's the thing about the game, is you played a Resident Evil 4, absolutely. Unfortunately, that's not in my top 3 list, but Resident Evil 4 definitely changed everything. And I think in the scope of video games overall, Resident Evil has to be talked about in
just
that regard.
as a whole, even if they had a couple of shit shows.
Right. So Eternal Darkness, you played as a character. I think it was her uncle or her grandfather got murdered. And you find this book called the Tome of Eternal Darkness, which documents everyone who's had this book and ultimately how they die. So it kind of was Assassin's Creed before Assassin's Creed became cool, where you go through all these time things. So you start as a Roman legionnaire who ultimately dies and becomes like kind of the main heel of it, because he gets consumed by one of the elder gods. And there's a cool kind of trifecta thing. If you dedicate yourself to one god, the other god becomes your protector and the other one becomes irrelevant. But you go through all these things until you realize the eternal darkness is coming for you tonight. But here is the thing that made the game unique, and no other game has even come close to freaking me the fuck out.
Okay.
So your characters, they had health, they had mana, they had sanity. Now, when your sanity started going down, so what happened is when your sanity started going down, you'd start hearing, weird knocks on the door. You'd start seeing the walls bleed. If there were statues or anything, their heads would turn. You go a bit further. If you remember, before HD TVs were things and the giant green bars to do volume, it would shut off your TV's volume. If your sanity got really low, it would really start fucking with you. You'd walk into a room, your arms would get ripped off, you'd get decapitated, you'd reset in the room. But this is actually the thing that scared me the most. So you go to save your game. It says, do you want to delete your file? And you're like, no. And it's like, you want to delete your file. And it shows the bar go up. And it's like, you want to delete all your GameCube files? And it would go into the menu and it would show it deleting all your files on your GameCube memory card. And you're like, no, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden be like, just playing.
Oh, man. That sounds like a really fun and fucky game.
It scares you beyond the content of the game. It made you feel like you were playing a haunted game, and no one has tried it. And it is a damn shame, and I challenge someone to make someone as scared
there is a game
as me playing that game.
Kind of like that in the fucky sense that came out recently. You may have heard it, Doki Doki Literature Club.
What?
Yeah, no. It poses as a dating sim, right? Like one of those Japanese dating sims where you go through the dialogues and things like that. But the game like resets itself occasionally, and like some of the characters, they change their behaviors. Eventually, they start like killing themselves or being like crazy and shit like that. And one of the characters that's not one of the dateable characters becomes like self-aware and starts changing the game files and things like that. And you actually have to go into your Steam files and alter them to get it to work.
So, yeah, I've heard about that. that game, but not particularly about that. Jimbre, if you are a streamer and you want to get someone to watch you and antagonize you the entire time, play Eternal Darkness. It is literally worth picking up a GameCube just for that game.
And getting a video capture card.
I can't say enough thing, and it's the king of horror games, and nothing has even remotely come close. And it's tough because I can't be like, play it on an emulator, because like a lot of the tricks and stuff were based on older TVs. But my favorite one is also probably, hey, your controller disconnected. And you just like watch all the enemies rip you apart.
I don't do horror. Oh, come on, Jimbre.
I think you should open your mind. You know, that's something I think you should do.
Honestly, it's worth it.
All right. Well, my other horror game of choice isn't exactly, I think, 100% horror, but I personally put in that category. So I'm gonna bounce it back to you. What's your second horror game? I'm gonna give a shout out to.
I don't know if I can beat that one though. After you described it, even though I've never played it, it sounds phenomenal. It's probably the best game in my opinion. And a lot of people overlooked it, and it breaks my heart. But well, now I have to like rethink everything. But I mean, I was gonna say Fatal Frame 2.
Oh, good one. Yes. All right. Talk about Fatal Frame 2.
You sound really excited. I want you to talk about Fatal Frame 2.
No. You have to talk about Fatal Frame 2.
I don't want to talk about Fatal Frame 2.
You're putting in the spotlight, my friend. You gotta talk about Fatal Frame 2.
It was a good game about you had to go around with a camera basically to even see the freaking ghosts. And they could jump up at you at any time, and it was, it had that very Japanese horror sense to it that just, I don't know, has this extra level of creepy.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just a very unique way to put you off guard, and oh gosh, I can't remember. It was in this generation of consoles. What was the game where you had a handheld camera? And you used it for night vision, and the camera was like the whole gimmick of the game.
Well, that Fatal Frame 2 did that.
No, but what's the more recent one?
I don't know.
Is it Outlast?
Oh, Outlast. Yeah, Outlast had that. Yeah, you went into the insane asylum, and you had to like do a bunch of... Yeah, Outlast.
Yeah, that's very much captures like kind of the same thing as Fatal Frame, right? But I think Fatal Frame did it first, so it had that extra creepiness. I'd be curious to see how that stands the test of time.
PS2 title. Graphically, not as well, but I mean, a lot of the content of it probably scales pretty well. The textures were very gritty, which help it kind of scale. I'm just looking at screenshots and stuff, and it looks like, I mean, I'd still be scared of that if I played it today.
Maybe it's something to stream for your personal channel at Bankai Belly.
Maybe, man. I still got my PS2, but I need a capture card and the right cables. Because PS2.
I'm just saying, I'd watch it.
Emulator, but yeah, that's not a terrible idea. Actually, right now I've been playing something called Phasmophobia, which is a lot like what you described with Eternal Darkness, where there is sanity and it fucks with you, although not on the existential level. That would be cool and also really bad.
Yeah, or it tells you like, oh, your keyboard's unplugged, so you literally get up to your computer and you're like trying to find the USB it's connected to.
And then you plug it in and you get up and the ghost is in your face. But that also has VR. It's on Steam, like $15 I think. It's an early access game, so it's not complete, a little buggy in places, but it's really good because you do have that sanity monitor, and as your sanity goes down, the ghost starts fucking with you more and more and more and more, and it hunts and stuff like that, which means like your flashlight will start flickering and you might get killed by it basically. But the goal of the game is you're like a group of ghost hunters. It's a multiplayer game, which is really fun, and you bring a bunch of tools with you to this site, whether it's a house, old high school, an insane asylum, a farm out in the woods, yada yada yada, and you bring all these tools like an EMF reader, like a thermometer, cameras, flashlights, black lights, and you basically have to go into this place and you have
Oh,
to
no,
figure
is
out.
fire going out?
You have to what? Is the fire going out? Are we losing our fire?
Nope, it restarted. Sorry.
Okay. It's a 3-hour fire. I don't know. And you have to figure out what kind of ghost it is. So like there's like a shade, an oni, a demon, a spirit, all this kind of stuff. And there's different ways to determine that. Like, do you get an EMF of 5? Is it sub-freezing temperatures? Do you see spirit orbs on the camera?
Sounds badass. What is this game called?
Phasmophobia.
And it's a multiplayer game, so we can play this together.
Yep, I play it with Sterny all the time, actually.
All right, well, I might be buying this immediately because this sounds awesome. Is it VR only?
No. It's VR capable, but not only.
Okay.
The first time I played it with him, I played it in VR, and he's like, oh man.
I'm buying it right now.
Perfect.
I just bought it because that sounds awesome.
We're always looking for more people to play with us too. But like, it's crazy because like some ghosts. Oh, here's the best part. Here's the ringer. Voice recognition. You speak to the ghost.
Oh my god.
So we'll be in a room and the temperature will be like sub freezing, like we're like the ghost is here. We'll throw down something called a spirit box, which is basically a radio. So we throw that down with a radio on it and we're like, Tom Collins, speak to us, and the radio will be like, you all die.
And I'm just like,
and then it'll like start hunting. Your flashlight will flicker, and what you need to do when the flashlight flickers, you need to turn off all of your equipment, hide in a room, close the door, and even then it might get you. And it'll just when you get killed, like all you hear is
I don't know when we're ending this.
Come on, let me finish.
All right.
When it's coming after you, and you know it's got you, you just hear like in your ear like the and then the hands come in front of your eyes and just like, and you're dead. And
oh my God.
There's local chat. So like when you're near somebody, you can talk and they can hear you, but if they walk away, it becomes more distant. You know, like I'm going away. And then there's a comms chat as well. And some ghosts only respond to you if you're alone, some the whole group, and I've gotten spooked a couple times.
So I purchased this. I don't know what you're doing after the stream, but I'm just saying I'm literally installing this game right now because that sounds incredible.
I'm down.
I just dropped $14 for it right now.
All right.
So, okay, so man, you talk about I can't top Eternal Darkness. Yet I just bought a video game on your recommendation.
Well, it's because it's fresh, you know. All right, let me take a 5-minute, 2-minute, whatever.
All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute.
Yep.
All right, and we'll come back in 5 minutes. Are you back?
Hey, yeah, back.
Man, so it's funny. The original intention of this conversation was Bly Manor, but I feel like we're having a much more intense back and forth about horror video games.
Well,
because
this
talk about Eternal Darkness, and you're like, I don't know if I can top that. Then you pitch a game to me, and I literally buy it.
That's how it happened for me too. Let me hop on Discord here and see who's available to play with us potentially.
I mean, I'll play it after the stream. I mean, we're at the hour. Did we have a timeline for this?
For what? Phasmophobia or this?
Conversation.
Remember we talked it would be like, maybe an hour or longer depending, but I wanted like an hour minimum.
Right. So I guess I gotta pitch my game number 2.
Oh.
So I'm actually, not everyone will agree it's in the horror genre, but it is one of the best games I have ever played in my life.
Among Us.
And it's something I played this year. It is not Among Us.
I know.
It is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
The hell kind of a name is that? Sounds Japanese.
Have you heard of this game?
No.
So it is a very unique game, and it is very rare I play a video game at my 31 years, and I take away something as a human being after I finish the game compared to how I started.
Okay, let me roll up my sleeves for this.
So the game is about a Pictish woman, so someone from kind of the Irish tribes.
Okay.
When the Vikings invaded, she suffers from psychosis.
Okay.
So she hears voices, and this is part of the game. And you have your headphones on, and do not play this game. If anyone's going to play Hellblade's Sacrifice without headphones, you need headphones to play this game. Because it really represents the voices going on in her head. And the whole thing is she is trying to get revenge for her, or she's trying to save the soul for her dead lover, who got taken by the Norse god Hela, or so she thinks. And that's really the one thing about the game, is you're not really sure what's real and what's fake. And even the end is very subjective to what you think has happened. But that goes because of the condition of psychosis. Now, the reason I'm putting it as horror, because there are certain parts of the game literally were so stressful, particularly the scene with the beast, where I died a couple times.
The beast.
And the situation was so stressful. I remember putting down my headphones and I had to watch something nice for 3 hours before I could pick up the game again.
That's how I felt about Hill House.
Because the death animations, the audio thing just etches into your brain so much. You just can't take it. You can't take it. And the fact that these deaths, these situations were so horrific for Senua was actually a motivation for me to go through it. I'm like, because you're kind of one of the voices in her head. You're the voice that's guiding her through all this.
So you want to get her out of the tunnel and into the light.
And man, oh man, the sequel is coming out in the next month or two, and I guarantee I'm going to be taking a day off work to play it, because it was one of the best games I have played in my entire life.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Sternsy actually commented in our chat, hey, look at these beautiful people. Sternsy, you were around? You want to play some Phasmophobia with us? I don't know if he's still even in the chat. No, he's not. He left. All right. Well, I'll hit him up in Discord and see what happens.
So I don't know if you subscribe to Xbox Game Pass, which is actually a phenomenal.
He is still here. It didn't show up for me for some reason. Stairsy, Phasmophobia. Anyway, continue, Rob.
So if you subscribe to Xbox Game Pass, you actually get the game as part of the subscription. The game probably only takes about 12 hours to beat.
Okay.
Again, in probably my top 5 favorite games of all time. Period.
Okay.
And it's definitely worth watching to also the documentary, and you find the amount of research that went into making it so her psychosis was as real as possible. And maybe I'm a little biased for this game because I have worked with people with schizophrenia, I have worked with people with psychosis, and just I have always wanted to know what it's like to be in their shoes. And I think the game itself is probably the closest I'm ever going to get. And maybe it's because mental health scares me more than the average human. But Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, I would tell you to play that game right now. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and it's just it's a masterpiece.
Drop the name of that game, the spelling of it in chat, because
I believe.
Yeah, people are gonna want to know that one. Sternsy, if you're still in the chat, have you followed this channel yet? I would really appreciate it. Any follows we can get.
I believe that's the correct spelling.
We're trying to get affiliated on this channel because we got some good stuff coming up, and we'd really like to be able to hit that wider audience.
So if you have Xbox Game Pass, you get the game free. So I 100% recommend you take, the 12 to 17 hours it's going to take for you to beat the game, to go out of your way and do it. And I'm telling you, you are walking away once you finish that game a different person.
Nice. Thank you, Sterny. So yeah, Sterny, do you want to play Phasmophobia? Do you? A little bit of a delay. We have to wait. Pause. Listen to the music.
So, do you have maybe an honorable mention? I have an honorable mention.
Oh, an honorable mention for the horror genre?
Yes.
I can think of one. Sternsy's down to play, by the way. Get your honorable mention, I'll get mine in, and then we'll switch over and we'll do Phasmophobia. I'll do a dual stream.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see if it's installed.
Oh.
It is not, but...
How far along are you?
Apparently it just chose not to install, so now it's installing now.
Oh, but it's downloaded?
No, it's downloading now, hopefully.
Oh, boss!
I told it to install, and then I guess it didn't install, so I'm gonna maybe wait to see if there's an error coming up. Anyways, so what's your honorable mention?
I said I can think of one. You've got one, though, right?
I do have one.
Go for it.
I'm gonna give a shout out to the Dead Space series.
Dead Space, okay.
And it's interesting because it's also a game close to my heart, because that's around the time I met you and actually Sterny, because it was a pretty revolutionary game at the time. So it was a game that was unique with the HUD, right? So there was no health bar, there was no ammo count. It was all on your suit, right? So
Okay.
that little spine fluid was telling you how much health you had. You had to literally pick up your gun to see your ammo. But it was a fantastic game for so many reasons. I really think it did a lot of things right. But mostly it was the fact that you were just a random dude who was fighting these necromorphs, which were these horrible monstrosities. And, I joke that it's kind of the extension to 2001: A Space Odyssey, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the monolith and all that, and they create the necromorph. And really, the combat was interesting because you had to dismember them. You had to shoot off a leg. You had to shoot off, an arm, and then you had to decapitate them, or else they'd come get you. And there's a lot of reasons that's kind of in my honorable mentions. Not only that I think it pushed the genre, it is also a very, very solid game.
Wow. you got so into it.
At least the first two.
All right. Nice. So my
Third
honorable
one you can
mention,
skip.
Fear.
Oh, yes. Good one, my friend.
It took me a minute, but I knew the game I was trying to think of, but I couldn't remember the name, and of course, Fear is the name. But awesome game. It's a first-person shooter, but it's like a horror first-person shooter, and it pulls off the scary bits very effectively. You think you're walking in with a freaking assault rifle, gonna shoot everything that comes at you, but it still manages to make you feel powerless at times.
Yeah, so not to interrupt you, but Brett, you should absolutely take your time to play Dead Space. That is definitely a game I know you would personally enjoy. But I think the most memorable thing I had about Fear, and I still remember the one scare that got me. So, in first-person shooters, with the animation going down the ladder, you kind of are just press E to go down the ladder, and your character shifts and goes down.
Yeah.
And literally, you just see the fucking little girl in front of you, and you're just well, this is how I die.
As you go to hit E.
and yeah, I think for the first person genre, that was something I was, God, why?
Yeah, the first one was good. The second one was all right. It's like typical horror anything. As you make more, it becomes less scary.
Well, I think the thing I remember about Fear, and I can't say I remember too much, it was a really good balance between an action game and a horror game, because I remember the scenes where you would fight other dudes in body armor and assault rifle, you would have the slow down time, and you would do the thing where you run forward and slide, and you could shoot them in slow motion.
Yeah. And your heel in it is a psychic cannibal.
Yes. Oh my god. No,
that dude
I mean
really fucking. Oh my god.
That's such a good choice. That is such a good choice, and one that I probably would have forgotten about.
Yeah, it really sticks out. Where's your game at?
My game is at 40% right now.
Okay, not bad. So I guess we could talk a little bit longer. Let's fill some time. Not to keep
All
you
right.
waiting, Sterny. Is Sterny, if you
have a
hang on. Is Sterny, if at any point you need to say never mind, I can't do it tonight, just let us know. But we're still gonna play regardless as soon as his installation's done.
Yeah, dude, I'm amped for this game. It sounds awesome.
I don't think you'll be disappointed either. I gotta go, but good luck, guys. Okay, Kai, thank you, and thank you so much for drawing that awesome banner and getting the transparent version of it to me.
I know, like
tonight.
literally, shout out to Kai for being kind of the unsung hero of Table Troop. We have so many cool things coming, and it's just she's the one that makes everything pretty. And kind of Billy, you're the one that also makes everything happen.
Yeah, I'm certainly the motivator.
And I'm here.
I'm the motivator and the tech. You are Rob here is the vision, and Kai's the art. Brett is our lovable little puppy.
I have to say, it's insane that we're actually almost streaming every single day this week. We stream Sunday, we stream Monday, we're going to stream Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday are our nights off. And then Friday we're streaming D&D.
That's right. And actually, I love the lighting you guys have. Oh, thank you. The lighting is, half the mood. Then there's the crackling fire, a nice drink, good company.
Okay, so I guess... So I consider this very successful. This is a successful stream in my mind.
Absolutely.
Do we wanna do something for next week?
The alcohol says yes.
Okay, so what's gonna be the topic for next week?
Let's take suggestions. Sternsy, Brett, you guys are still here. What do you
We
think
can
should
do
talk about
video
next week?
games, tabletop games, movies, TV.
Literally anything. Vegetables. The cut of our meat.
Cooking.
Oh, I could go on about cooking.
We could do a cooking stream for like more than an hour between the two of us.
Do it from my kitchen. I'll bring out the laptop. Folklore. Folklore? I heard there's a demon down at the park.
So I don't know if it's spoiler, but I doubt none of the...
talk about anything, I'll be here. That means we're doing something right.
The players for my Pokemon game. So actually, now that we've started to learn the game, and we're picking up kind of the story on our next session. So I'm going to reveal one of my legendary Pokemon in the next session or two, and it's literally going to be Plymouth Rock. It's going to be this giant creature that lives underground, and the rock is just ahead of it.
Wow.
So how's that folklore for you?
My face. You're looking at the stream, the mic was right in front of my face. I don't know, what should we have for a topic if we do this next week? We want it to be expansive, like how we go into TV, movie, video games.
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Since we were able to extend our video game conversation, do you want to do our top 3 games of this console cycle?
Yeah. Specifically consoles, not PC. Yeah,
it can be part of PC, but I'm just saying
in that time frame.
Since the time the PS4 and the Xbox One were released to now.
I'm gonna stick it just to console though, just to be fair and even on it.
Unfortunately, I guess I can because the game is on console, but I have 1,000 hours PC, so
That's
I guess
fine.
I can.
If it's a console game, even if you played it on PC, I think it qualifies.
Okay, I can very much talk about.
Yeah, since we've got the new console cycle starting literally a month from a couple days ago.
Yep,
which
spoiler,
no one's
I'm not
gonna get.
buying a PS5.
I will buy one eventually, but I'm not in any rush right now.
Why?
Why would I buy one? Media center for my bedroom or living room.
Oh, your PS4 does that.
Yeah, I've got 2 PS4s right now. No, like I said, I'm not in any rush. I probably will at some point when I see a title coming out that I want, and I want to be able to like play with a controller for the TV or whatever, or stream it. But I'm in no rush. You know, I think this is the first time I can say that I'm not getting a day one console.
So do we want to maybe talk about our top 3 or top 5 games of this, I guess, cycle?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll start there, and we'll let the conversation roll into whatever else we can think of. We'll do that, and how about our favorite? Even though the list is probably really short and it's still crappy, our favorite video game movie adaptations. Don't spoil it now. Don't spoil it now, but you got a week to think about it.
I mean, I already have my choice.
Good. Save it for next week.
All right, I will.
Okay.
But it's actually because I have a personal connection to it, so...
Perfect.
All right. It's installed.
It's what? Installed?
Yeah.
All right. So, everyone, this concludes this tabletop stream. We will return momentarily, both on Tabletop and my... Tabletop?
Tabletop?
Welcome to Tabletop, everyone. Both on Table Troop and on my personal stream. I'm going to do a dual stream. So choose your weapon or choose both. I prefer both. Follow if you haven't.
Table Troop needs more love than Billy's personal.
Table Troop needs the follows. Table Troop needs the follows. So we'll see you all in 10-15, probably less. Thanks for tuning in.
Perfect.